In 3ds Max, sometimes when you're working with the scale transform gizmo, you can unintentionally distort your model. For instance, if you're using the scale tool, and if I get out of this mode, if you grab it on a particular axis, you'll begin to distort the model. So it's no longer a perfectly round sphere in this instance. Or if I grab on one of these axes bars, you can see how now I'm scaling into the dimensions. So now it's kind of flattening out a little bit. So if you want to avoid that distortion, make sure that you're grabbing it from the center point of the scale gizmo. So when you're scaling it, it does not distort it. Occasionally, what will happen is if you're using your shortcut keys or you drag and you pick a different scale type other than the non-uniform scale type. So if I hit R twice, you'll see how it gets to this select and squash mode. And in that mode, it's going to start distorting your model, and it doesn't give you the option to select this center point of your gizmo. So just be aware that the scale tool can get into this funky scale mode, select and squash mode, and if you just hit the R key, you'll see it toggles back to the select and uniform scale. Now there is one other scale type. This is the select non-uniform scale type, but it will allow you to grab the center gizmo and still scale it uniformly. It's just when you get into this select and squash mode that you can no longer scale your objects uniformly. Now ideally when you do your modeling and things like that, you don't want to unnecessarily scale your model to a non-100%. So right now my object is at 88%. Normally you'd probably want to try to keep things at 100% and work on scaling at the sub-object mode. Or if you're still having the radius property on the sphere, you can adjust the radius of the actual sphere in there. Unless you do need to distort it non-uniformly, there's ways to get it back. But ideally when you're done, you want your model to still be at 100% value. So if I were to take this and scale it down, you'll see that I'm still at 100%. So there is scaling and some of the tips, tricks to avoid that nasty, distorted scaling your model, non-uniform scaling that might not be desirable in certain instances.